Henry, how's it going today?
Tired. Had a workout
Tired.
with Heffy at 8 in the morning. So,
Football stuff.
it's something. But
Man,
we're back.
man, and yeah, we're back. We're ready to roll, and I got a guy coming on the show today who he's grade 12. He's local in BC, but he's gone to a prep school. And this guy, from what I've seen, I'm just meeting him for the first time today, but from what I've seen, he could shoot the three, he can dribble past guy, he could pull up for jump shots, he can take alley-oop dunks, he can throw down dunks. Like this guy's just a beast. And I'm gonna tell you personally, Henry, we played Wellington this year. I was glad that he wasn't there, to be honest with you. I know Sailors
Now
played
on.
them last year, and I think he got 10 dunks maybe in that game. So
Ridiculous.
so let me introduce Grayson Ritzand. Welcome
Thank
to
you
the
guys
show,
very
man.
much for having me on.
So yeah, no, we appreciate you taking the time. I know you got a little bit of a break in between school and spring break. So
Thank you.
let's dive right into it. It's Athlete Chronicles. My name's Tom Connolly. Co-host
My name's
is
Henry Che. Henry Che.
and we got Grayson Ritzand. So Grayson, tell me, where are you from? Let's start off. Where are you from? Where were you born?
I was originally born here in Nanaimo Hospital. I was born on May 29, 2008. I've grown up here my whole life. I chose to move to Toronto this year in Ontario at a prep school called Uchenna to, further help my basketball recruitment. But I'm, an island-grown kid. I've gone to school here my whole life. I've lived here my whole life. I went to Wellington Secondary School until grade 11, until I decided to make the jump to grade 12 to go to Ontario, the other side of the coast.
So we'll get into that a little bit. So going back, so being born in 2008, that puts you class of 2026, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And then yourself, like how tall are you?
I'm 6'6", so I'm decently tall, labeled as a guard
Six.
forward, kind of bit of both.
Yeah, yeah. In videos that I've seen, you're not just 6'6", man. You're a powerhouse. I saw
Thank you
some
very much.
I saw clips of you recently. I think you were doing reps on your bench press of what was that? I think it was it was in the twos, easily in the twos.
Yeah, no, my mom's a personal trainer, so she kind of takes care of all that for me, so she's pretty helpful with that.
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of her clips on what she does as well. So that alone, having that in your back pocket, just growing up and going through sports is obviously a
Hmm.
major plus.
Yes,
But
it
okay,
definitely.
so born and raised in Nanaimo. Um,
Yes, sir.
you've been in Nanaimo your whole life. Um, what I'm stealing Henry's first question here. You before your grade 11 year, what other sports were you involved in?
I'm a really good volleyball player. I think it's because like my natural ability to jump high. But I played volleyball my whole high school career until this year, obviously when I went to prep school. But I was Island All-Star for volleyball 2 years in a row. I played senior volleyball since grade 10, and then in grade 8 I played up on the junior team. So both sports, basketball and volleyball, I always played up. But I was pretty good, and so I was a multi-sport athlete until I'd say grade 11. And I played beach volleyball in the summer. Sometimes there's some like local tournaments and whatnot, but just the two, because they're pretty similar. They're obviously very different, but they're pretty similar. Pretty similar footwork. You got to jump high, and I'm a middle blocker because I'm tall and I'm big and I'm wide. So it was really fun to play. I used to play every year. My volleyball coach was my old basketball coach for grade 8, so he switched sports because his oldest son was a basketball player and his younger son was a really good volleyball player. And so I started playing volleyball every year in grade 8, and I grew and liked it more. And it was kind of a nice break from basketball because, you'd have summer AAU, and then school would start in September, and you'd have a nice 2.5 month of just, okay, you still practice basketball, but, you're focused on the volleyball. So it was a really good switch for just a little bit.
Well, and what I noticed when I grew up, like between my grade 9 year and my grade 10 years, when I started working on a jumping program, and just for volleyball, just the practice jumping, people underestimate, I think, just the practice of the jumping at
Yes,
as high
sure.
as you can go makes a huge difference.
It definitely does.
I mean, Grayson, I've known you for about 5 minutes already. You seem like such a lively person to be around. So I guess this brings me to the question, what do you like away from the basketball court?
Away from the court, I'd say like I'm a very social person. I grew up very social. I'm a very like I like to move around. I like to, I'm an active guy. Like if you put me in a room with anybody, like it doesn't matter who they are, where they're from, what they're dealing with. I feel like I could always have a conversation with somebody. Like random guy in the street or, just a friend you've always known. I'm very talkative, I'm very social, but I can also keep to myself. Like I love, going out all the time. Like I just got a car here, I meet up with all my friends all the time. So, life's always not just about basketball, but I love just being out and just, enjoying myself sometimes too, because you got to have a bit of a balance.
You got a very mature way of carrying yourself. I can already tell just by the conversation with you. You seem very collected. You seem very sure of yourself and confident, which is a great thing to see.
Yes, sir. That's kind of the way my parents brought me up though. So it's mostly thanks to them.
Hey, that's great. That's great. I started watching clips of you dunking probably in grade 11. Um, when did you actually really start working out to work on your jumping ability, like your athleticism?
It was funny because in my grade 7 year in elementary school is when I got a new hoop outside because I used to play in this old beat up one down the street, but my dad finally got me a new one outside, and I was trying to dunk, and for the life of me, for the whole summer of grade 7, I was this close. I kept rimming them out, and I'm a 2 foot jumper, so I was just so close yet so far. And then on the first day of grade 8, I'll never forget. It was lunchtime basketball, and my friend's like, "Oh, if you think you could dunk off a lob," so he threw me an alley oop, and the first time in my life I jumped up. I was only 13 years old, and I got one hand above the rim, one hand, nice flush dunk. And ever since that day, I've been working on it. All the weightlifting's really come along to help it, and because I'm a power jumper, I can jump off 1 foot. I can do 1 foot windmills. I can do all the athletic dunks off 1 foot, but I don't like to jump off 1 foot because I find you get pushed over too easy. So I'm a power jumper, and ever since then, I've always worked on the power to jump and the distance and whatnot. And since grade 8, even till now, I'm still working. I want to keep increasing to get to the max.
So not just jumping above people, jumping through people. I like it. My kind of jump.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
The
Exactly.
Shaq kind of style.
Exactly. Like, if you can dunk the ball, you got to dunk over somebody. It's my kind of mentality.
Yeah, you got a few clips of those, so that's great.
Yes, sir.
You kind of mentioned that obviously you do train with your mother. So I guess let me switch the question around. What are like besides like I guess like plyometrics because it is power jumping. What else do you work on as an athlete, not just as a basketball player?
Like as an athlete, of course, like I find something that really helps is like my morning routine is I do 15 minutes of skipping. I find like no matter what sport you play, skipping is like it's the answer. Like, it's a good stretch, it's a good warm up, but also too it keeps those little tendons in your calves and stuff. I think that also is a really good reason why I jump high because I'm always skipping. I'm always doing those little bound jumps. You're only jumping this much off the floor, but if you're going for 15 minutes, and I don't just do basic skipping. I do like the 1 foot skipping, the 2 foot skipping, the cross skipping. Just really challenge yourself.
Yeah.
It's a good cardio workout, so I incorporate skipping. As an athlete, I stretch 4 times a day. Like before I called you guys, I was stretching for 30 minutes. You stretch in the morning, you got to stretch before practice, cool down after practice, and then before bed. So, anytime you're stretching, depending on the practice of the day, if you practice twice, you automatically got to stretch 4 times. And then I say in the morning and before bed. So I say stretching is a really key part because if you don't, if you let your body get sore and you let too much lactic acid build up, you're not going to have any good workouts, then progress. The weights obviously is a huge thing. A lot of people these days, like, they're not too sure how to train, so they train more like a bodybuilder. And weightlifting in general helps, but you're a basketball player. You're not trying to build to be all bulky. You're trying to build to be the quickest, the strongest, and the fastest you can be. So a lot of power training is necessary. Of course, you do curls and stuff and whatnot like that still too. But a lot of people who are sports, just because they don't know, they train too many exercises to be a bodybuilder. Because I feel like if you're in the gym, you shouldn't be in the gym any longer than an hour and 20 minutes. Like get in, you do your set routine and get out. People are in there for 2.5 hours, which is, in my opinion, just way too long.
Yeah. It's funny you say about skipping because I've been talking to our kids at Salish for a couple of years. In my grade 9, 10 year, I bought a jumping skipping program. So it was skipping and it's like you say, it's not just 2 foot jumping, it's 1 foot jumping, it's side to side, it's lunge jumping, it's squats, it's the whole thing. And then it's pogo stick jumping as well. And
Yeah,
all of it's important. It's the repetition and it's the practicing and
yes, for sure.
got you 2-hand dunking and got me 2-hand dunking. Hopefully it'll
Definitely.
get a bunch of other guys. So we're gonna save this clip and make sure it gets out there for people to
Yes, for
make
sure.
sure they see. If I want to jump like Grayson, this is what I got to do.
Yes, for sure. Definitely.
Before you left to Toronto, you had like one hell of a run. Like I wasn't expecting it. What year was that? That was 2024, correct? Or
Yeah.
no, 2025.
Last year, the 24 to 25 year.
I believe I was watching the game you guys played against Vancouver College at the Howard Samara tournament.
Yeah, it was
I
our
was
first
like,
real game
I've
of the
never,
season.
I've never seen this team play before. I've never heard of this team since moving to BC. And then I think you guys also had like a footer on your squad.
Yeah, we had a
So
6'10" guy, a nice big man to work with.
you guys had one hell of a stretch. So like
Definitely.
making that run, how do you think it helped you on your opportunity to be able to go to prep school?
I think it gave us because, like, we started the year off. We thought we were definitely a lot better than the rankings put us because we were honorable mention, and then we had a really bad summer tournament. It was a whole new team. We had a couple guys who were dual sport athletes, like baseball, playing basketball, soccer, playing basketball. And our 7-footer was still working on his game. He's good, but everyone's just it was a team that we never really meshed yet because it was a whole new squad. A lot of grade 11s, including myself, moving up from the junior team, playing up. So seniors that never played before. A lot of just, it just didn't mesh at first. So that first summer tournament was really a good test. I think we went 0-4. We had a really bad, we played okay against Vancouver College, but we couldn't settle down. And then in the year, we had some really good games that built up. We played some ranked teams. We beat St. Pat's by 1 in an overtime thriller to secure a ranking seat, second for provincials. We had a really good game against MEI, who was ranked, I think, third. We beat them by 30. We blew them out of the water, which kind of really put us on the map as a team. And I think how that helped me to go to Ontario for my prep year was just like I was the team captain of the team, and a lot of coaches, they were recruiting me not based off my stats or how I was playing on the court, but how I kind of carry the team because I was always the guy, making sure like I have a pregame routine, and it's pretty funny. Like when there's 2 minutes left, I bring everybody in. We all have our little talk, and then I do this thing, and it gets all the guys in a good mood. Whether you're tired, it's second game of the day, and because basketball shorts don't have any pockets, and I look at everybody, I go, does anyone got a watch on them or anybody got a phone on them? Everyone's looking at me all weird, like, no, what do you mean? I'm like, well, does anyone know what time it is? And someone will say some dumb answer like, oh, I think it's 7:20, and I'll be like, no, does anyone really know what time it is? And then someone will catch on and go, I think it's game time. I'm like, I can't hear you. What time is it? And, get all the guys hype. And, as a team captain, I always try to make sure even when you're losing, you always got to bring the guys in, make sure guys' heads are always up. Lots of guys, we had a lot of guys last year who, not that we were, not confident, but every time they miss a shot, they're all head down and, oh, no, I missed a shot, going down. So I was always making sure like, oh, don't worry about it, next shot, next shot. I really think that helped us a lot because by the end of the year, we couldn't really, nobody was, everyone was meshing together. Everybody was confident. Nobody was head down, team was just completely like this, like we were together, so I think all my stuff, on the court, being a leader and whatnot was really what gave me that opportunity, especially because I was the one leading that deep run. As team is everybody, but as a team captain, you have to set yourself apart, you have to take a bigger role in the team, and as a captain, you're kind of the second coach. So I took that role on, and it really carried me through to this year.
I think
So prep schools and stuff started reaching out to you like early on in the season, like December, January?
They started reaching out to me in grade 10, but I didn't want to go in grade 11 because it was smaller schools. And then in grade 11, they started reaching out to me. And then it was really funny because this year at my prep school, like I'm the team captain there too, which I never really expected. But the coach was like, yeah, we see what you do. We want you as our captain. So before the season even started, I was already named our unanimous captain, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
So I want to ask, because it's also a jump too, right? When you go to prep, I want to two-part this question. What do you think the levels are going from like regular BC high school basketball to going to prep? Whether it's obviously you did play in Toronto, or
Yes, sir.
say if you went to the States or whatever. What do you think that level was?
I think the level is huge because the thing is in BC is like a lot of guys are just playing basketball, especially on the island. Like, the competition isn't as good and isn't a respectful way. It's just because, half the kids are there because, they're just playing sports and you're just being active, and they go work their shift, at McDonald's or whatever, after practice and whatnot. But, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. Not everyone has to, go to the next level with basketball. But in BC, like there's only so many guys that are going to the next level. Like, as you've seen this year, there's only 2 kids who are going to U Sport out of all BC, and that's Blake Pye and Jack Sneed. Because Alex Bursan, he's going to Royal Crown next year for his 5th year. But the competition level is a lot different because everyone's trying to eat in these prep schools or these US schools because everyone wants to go to college. In BC, it's like basketball isn't everything. It's like, you go to school, you have, life, all the, like at prep school in the US, it's like you wake up, you have morning practice, you have school, then you have practice again. Like it's regimen and routine to where basketball is all that matters, to where, and BC guys are, multi-sport athletes, which is nothing wrong with too, but like basketball is like it's like all these guys are trying to eat, especially in the States, like guys are ride or dying on, some guys really need to get out of, bad situations. So they're using basketball. I'd say it's definitely not more serious, but it's like more like everyone's trying to play at that next level, whether that's, CCAA, D2, D1, D3, U Sport, like everyone's trying to move up the ladder, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, truly understand. You get the gist of it. Like I like that you pointed that out. It's like especially even not even just in the States, but like in some parts in Toronto too. Like
Yes,
I don't know
sir.
if you've ever been around, but it's like it's bad. It's gutty. So like even like I think there's a couple schools in Toronto, like for example, like Pickering High School, they can compete with prep schools. It's like there's a
Yeah.
different type of hunger, right? Like
Oh,
I
for
know
sure,
like
for
when you go
sure.
out there, you have to understand it. It's like you also got to understand it's you're competing against somebody who maybe come out of a situation where it's like, maybe single parents and all that.
Yeah.
You ever see yourself on like it's like the example of when you're driving, you don't always want to give somebody a hard time because you never know what's
That's what I
happening
mean,
in front of
a
you
lot
at
of
a
people are
different
dealing with
car.
different things. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's like some guys, they're like, man, I gotta give you 40 and kill you, or I'm
Yeah.
gonna be in the same stance. So I love that you have that mentality. Even if you play at Pac West, you have to have that mentality. I
Well, that's what
think
I'm saying
the
because,
guys
even at that level, they recruit over you and whatnot. It's like if you're not
exactly.
performing, even though it's Pac West and it's smaller league, those coaches are still getting paid. And, if they're not performing,
Yeah.
they're gone. So they really have to, if you want to, take it lackadaisical, you either can lackadaisic on the bench or lackadaisic somewhere else because they're not gonna, they won't put up with it.
I like this guy. I like
It's
you
just
generally
simple though. It's
understand
like,
it. And
if you don't
it's
want to try, then, go somewhere else.
and I say this experience out of me, right? I think I'm probably one of the biggest hypocrites. Like out of grade 12, I thought I'm like, man, I got it. It's easy.
Yeah,
It's no, you have to prepare yourself. Like you're not a baby anymore, right? You're not 5 years old. You gotta have your
exactly.
film. You gotta have like solid GPA.
Hmm.
And it's not even highlights. They're not looking for 30-second threes.
Yeah,
No, 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 no,
no.
no. You
Well,
gotta
a lot
have
of
like
coaches they
what?
pick that full game now. They all want like they won't ask you your highlight. They full game highlights because they see your body language. Oh, you talking on
Yeah,
defense, or you miss a shot, or you're not running back on defense, or how are you with your coach when he tells you something? How are you with your teammates? How are you
yeah.
shooting the ball? When you're not wide open. All those things they want to see through the full game. And so I don't know. Have you guys heard of something called synergy? Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
it breaks down a game. So, if you're lazy as, all crap, then, guys are gonna pick you apart through synergy because synergy just it uses AI to just clip you. And all it does is, you search up, defensive assignments missed, and it just shows, 20 clips of you getting blown by middle, blown by middle, blown by middle. So it's kind of like, coaches use that a lot. Guys who think, oh, I'm big game, I'm going D1. It's like, well, if you can't guard a cone, then it's like you're not going D1. It's pretty simple. So
I've seen
I like
so
this
many
guy.
high level players playing where, offensively they go down, whether they score or miss, but they're the last guy to get back to center. So there's no defensive awareness, no defensive effort.
yeah,
It's
that's the
kind of
thing. Like, like
uh,
everyone wants to be a scorer, but coaches they really care less at the next level what you can score. They want to see if you can do everything else. Like a big reason I'm being recruited right now is because of my rebounding numbers. Like I'm considered a guard in Ontario, and I grab about 10 to 11 boards a game, and coaches really like that because especially our league is filled with 6'10" footers and all that. And I think I'm fourth in our league in rebounding. All the guys ahead of me are all 6'10" and above. So, a lot of coaches find that impressive just because, it's not scoring, it's not all these flashy threes. It's just, the dirty work, hitting somebody,. Grabbing the ball, boxing out.
yeah. And as well as I do, when a big guy, because I'm 6'7", when a big guy touches the ball, the energy goes up.
But yeah, exactly.
So sometimes you got to put in the effort to get that ball, to get that energy. So
Mm-hmm.
so while you've been
Exactly.
away, while you've been away, not a highlight from a game or whatever, but what's been the highlight of you going away for school?
I definitely say meeting new teammates and new friends. Like some of these guys I met at prep school will be friends for life. Like our team only has 2 Canadians on it, me and a kid from Brampton. Our whole team is international. So we have 2 guys from Switzerland. We have a few guys from Africa, the Congo. We have Senegalese kids. We have a couple kids from France, kids from all over. So it's really cool getting to, meet other people and their culture and, how they conduct themselves and whatnot. And, Nanaimo is nice. I like Nanaimo. It's naturey, but, after about a week home, I'm bored already because there's nothing to do but, hang out with your friends and whatnot. So Ontario and Toronto, they have a, not nightlife, but, if you want to go downtown, there's so many things you can do. They got a good transit system, so you don't need a car. The train takes you 5 minutes downtown to the Eaton Center
Yeah.
Mall, the biggest mall in Canada. So there's so many things you can do, and it's just, on your time off, it's just nice to just chill, and there's where we live, there's a couple streets up. It's called St. Clair West, and it's the longest street stretch in Toronto, and it's the biggest food market street ever. Like there's just you can go there. There's any type of food, Jamaican food, Chinese food. Like there's so many cultures there, and it's cool to just experience living in a new place for sure.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
See, now you got me missing home. Now you got me missing it. I've been dying to go back. You don't understand. Like
No, I
I
feel
love
you.
BC. No shade to Vancouver, but it's like energy.
Hmm.
But this year, I was really impressed this year. Like, I was telling Tom, like, man, I don't know if you've seen any clips. Like, provincials was alive and resurrected. I think there was no seat, and there was probably like another plus 50 to 100 people just standing around. So
Hmm.
kudos to everyone and every team that played. Like, even the teams that lost, there was no game that wasn't competitive. Like, all the way from single A to quad A, from the grade A's all the way to the seniors.
For sure.
So coming back to you, like I said, you're such a lively guy. What's something that like you do every day, whether like obviously it's 8 a.m. workouts, night stretches or whatever that you're doing with your teammates that you don't think they see you do or they don't see that you see them do that they think, oh, I'm just doing it. It's routine.
Probably just cooking, a lot of the guys that I'm very like diet heavy. I always make sure like, you're not going to fuel a Lamborghini with, regular old, state of the art gas. Like you're going to put some good gas in the thing. So like I always try like, the guys eat whatever they want. Like a lot of guys eat cookies before practice and all that and like milkshakes and all that. So I try to instill that onto them and they all think like, they all call me crazy because when we go grocery shopping, I got all these chicken breasts and like I have like my whole cart is filled with like stuff that you'd never see a kid eat, obviously. And so they all think it's pretty funny. But to me, it's just routine. Like my mom, she growing up, she's a nutritionist too. So my whole life, like I've never eaten white bread in my life. I've eaten whole wheat bread, same thing. I've always eaten whole wheat pasta, lots of greens, I never really had candy growing up, I always, was fruit and vegetables. And, my mom, everything she makes is, amazing. Like she made me pancakes this morning, thankfully she's making me breakfast while I'm home, nice break. But, the pancakes are protein pancakes and it's with whole wheat flour and brown sugar, nothing is processed. So, I try to eat as much real food as I can, of course you always got to have a little bit of fun when you're out with your friends, switch it up with a bit of, burgers or whatever. But, I'd say like diet is probably the biggest thing is like, if you want to fuel your body, you're not going to eat a bunch of crap. It's the same thing. If you have a really nice car, you're not going to put, you're not going to put diesel in a gas car. It's not how it works.
Well,
So I definitely say
good for
that.
you for your discipline. Good for the discipline. Then
Yes,
well
sir.
done.
Thank you.
So, okay, let me reword this. Tell me a time where, maybe something happened. You see yourself today, you think is regular, but your coach thinks you could do better at. So they give you some feedback like, hey, try to tweak your jumper a bit more or try to beat a guy off the wing or backdoor, this guy's head's turned around, like type of thing. Whether like not there's no negative or positive, like, just feedback for you to understand.
Yeah. Like I would probably say like at the start of the season, because in Ontario we play with a different ball. We play with it's a Spalding
Yeah.
Revolution. I don't know. I really hate the ball. And at the start of the season, I don't know what it was. I couldn't hit a free throw to save my life. It's just the ball. It would come off my fingers really weird. I didn't like it. All this types of feedback from different coaches and different assistant coaches saying, oh, let's take a step back, take a step forward, take a step to the side, push up, don't push more, all this different types of feedback and really taking it in. And then, you know, really like I was just thinking at the end of the day, it's just something you kind of got to get used to because a lot of my coaches were saying,
Yeah.
oh, do this. And, I would try this and it wouldn't work. And it wasn't frustration coming out, but I kind of just told them like, like I appreciate the feedback, but, this is something I think I kind of have to figure out myself.
Yeah.
Completely scrapped my old free throw routine because it wasn't working with this ball. And it's funny because at the start of the season, I was shooting very poor numbers. Like I just couldn't for the life of me. First month and a bit, I think I was shooting subpar 52%, which is just god awful. And I couldn't for the life of me. I changed my routine up. I would have no routine. I'd shoot the ball and nothing was working. And then it's funny. The reason that I'm shooting so good now, my numbers have jumped up to 88% is my old skills coach here, who's a family friend. He's been coaching me since grade 7. He just gave me a tip of just start with your fingers pointed more down. And ever since then, I really can't miss a free throw. So it's kind of funny that, the people you wouldn't expect, my skills coach back home, because I was telling him about it, like, yeah, I can't really hit a free throw. It's killing me, I'm getting the line 10 times a game and only hitting 4 or 5. And, he said, make sure your fingers, like, when you shoot the ball, instead of having them up like this, just put them down a bit more so you get more arc on the elbow. And ever
Yeah.
since I've been using that trick, I've just been draining free throw after free throw after free throw. It's just a really good, fix.
I feel like free throws are so underrated. Free throws are like that's
The
like
hardest shot in basketball.
free throws separate a game from this to this.
It's the hardest shot in
Easy.
basketball, in my opinion.
It's hard when it's like I say it's hard when you got people in the crowd, you got people in the
Oh, for
front, people on
sure.
the sides, people in
For
the
sure.
back, like especially when you're known to, they're gonna say stuff. They're gonna say random things.
Oh
They may
yeah.
say an interesting fact about you. It's like you really have to
Yeah, you
close
have
your
to
mind
really
and
like really just
adjust.
block it out and just vision you
Yeah,
and on the rim. You have to really just
yeah.
straight.
So with you being away in Toronto, how are you able to manage like, travel season grind, letting your academic and your performance, like
Hmm.
did your sleep schedule ever like intertwine or like slip up a bit?
Definitely. Like I'm a late sleeper. Like I was born late at night, and my mom always tells me like that's the reason why I stay up so late. Like my body can go off 6 hours of sleep like really well. Like I'm fine with 6 hours, but I usually go to bed at 11:30 or 12, and it's not that I'm undisciplined. It's just I really can't get to sleep. I have a really hard time sleeping early, and that's why morning training is really pretty hard for me because I'm doing a lot of time off 5 hours. But I really try to take
Yeah.
naps throughout the day, but I do keep my grades good because I always know like that's anyone can play basketball, but can you stay enrolled at your school that you're attending? Like
Yeah.
if you look, a lot of guys flunk out, which is just to me, it's like a lot of guys who are third, fourth year who are full adults flunk out just because they're just stupid. And it's as simple as just making sure you're ahead. Like I always make sure like second you get an assignment, just get it done. Doesn't matter if it's due in 2 weeks, just get it done because then it's the stress off your shoulders, and then you can practice, relax, do whatever you want to do. But my sleep schedule definitely since I've gone to prep has suffered a bit, but I'd also say it's like not to the point where it's affecting me too much just because I can operate off 6 hours, 5 hours of sleep. But sometimes it does get a bit much, when you get home, like we've had a couple tournaments in New York and instead of flying, we drive. So sometimes we get home at, you know, 4 a.m. and, you got to be up at 9 for, practice. Sometimes it's pretty hard, but I'd say mostly, everything's pretty in tune and, I operate pretty well off 6 hours, like of course if I could get 8, I'd get 8, but sometimes, you don't have a choice. Like it's, if you get 2 hours, you're lucky to get 2 hours, it's better than no sleep. So you
Yeah.
can't really complain.
And we
And some
appreciate your
sports, I
time.
tell you.
We're getting up to about 27, 28 minutes. You have like another 3, 4, 5 minutes? You good?
Yeah, I got tons of time. Don't worry. I got a bunch of time. If you guys ask whatever you guys want, it's all good.
So if
Yeah, all
there's like
good.
10 seconds left in the game, do you prefer to have the ball in your hands, or is your teammates looking for you, or are you just whatever we need to do to win is what you're willing to?
The thing is if I can, I always want the ball in my hands, like, especially if it's coming down to the stretch and like, most of our plays are written up for me in the final thing of the moment. But like, you know, at the end of the day, whatever, like if I have a good shot, but I see someone in the corner who has a better shot, I'm not going to hesitate to pass that up. Like, at the end of the day, like, I don't care if I have 0 points. If we get the win, that's a win, man. Like, I'd rather have 0 points in a win than 50 points in a loss. So I'd say I always want the ball in my hands, but I don't want the ball in my hands to score. I want the ball in my hands to make a game-winning play. But that's also on the defensive end too. Like whoever's having the ball and I'm guarding them, like I don't want them to pass it up. If they're gonna score on me, I really want them to score on me. Like this year, like it's funny. I guess I've had a few game winners this year, but my biggest game winner actually is on defense on a block. So it's pretty funny that I think defense is more important than offense when it comes down to the stretch. Like you can really like because when you have the ball and you're tied, it's all about okay, you miss a shot, whatever, you go to overtime. But when you're on the other side of that ball, it's really can you sit down and gut a stop out, especially because your legs are tired. It could be overtime, fourth quarter. But I definitely say I want the ball, but not to score. I just want to make the play, whether that's tough shot or drawing two, kicking an assist, or if that's giving it up and setting a screen for somebody else to get open, then that's what it takes. So I just say not necessarily the ball, but whatever it takes to win. If that's giving the ball to me, that's passing it up, setting a screen, or just being a decoy and being out of the play. Whatever we need to do to win.
I like that. I like that kind of mentality. The whole team effort, the whole offense, defense effort.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
Tom, you could take the next question too.
Okay. So talking about game-winning shots. So has there been a time where like you've missed a crucial game-winning shot or a turnover? Like what was the very next thing you said to yourself at the end of the game
We
when you
had a
guys didn't
game.
pull it out? Has that happened to
We
you
have,
yet?
yeah, I've had quite a few games. Like it's like kind of the same thing Michael Jordan's been saying. You've been trusted to take the shot and you just miss. Like at the end of the day, I think it depends on the situation. Like we've had a couple games this year where I think I've hit 2 game winners this year, or a game like just before the buzzers expire. But I took a lot this year to close out a game, or like we were playing this tournament at Bill Crothers and we were playing this Tri-City team and they were really good. They were ranked and we really needed to beat them and we were neck and neck the whole game and one of their guys got injured, so it was a really good chance to get into the rankings early. And I hit a shot to go to tie. They missed the shot, and I had the shot to come down to go for the win. I missed the shot, and all I thought about was, okay, it really doesn't matter. Score is 0-0. You got 5 minutes to play. That's all I thought about. But a couple times when you miss, and the game's over, you're down 2, you got to hit it, and you miss. There's definitely a couple, things that roll through your head, but I also think like let it sit with you for a good hour and just think like, oh, crap, at it, ball could have spun differently. Just get those feelings out of your head. And then after that, you got to move on because the game's over. You'll never play that game again. You're not going to get that chance back. Who cares? You missed the shot. Doesn't really matter. And same thing, I've definitely made like, I'm no perfect person. We've had a few games this year where I try to set something up or I slipped or ball slipped out of my hand, turn the ball over and, you couldn't get back in time, few seconds left. We had a game like that this year. We were playing Cambridge and I drove bit middle and the ball just slipped out of my hand with 7 seconds left. And some guy hit a crazy, shot with 2 seconds left. And, sometimes it sits with you because it's like, I would have done something differently. But I think the best thing you can do for yourself is just to really think about it and, get all your thoughts out of it now. And then you got to scrap it. You got to put it behind you because the more you drag onto it, the more it's just going to bring your level of play down and down because,
Yeah.
Eventually it gets to a point where you start thinking negative about yourself. And the second you start thinking negative about yourself, that's where your game just really drops. So I try to, just think about it, get it out of my head and just move on to the next play.
Smart. Goldfish mentality. 10 seconds, just
Yes,
done,
sir.
move on to the next one. Call one more.
Exactly.
One more.
Exactly.
Next play. Yeah. So your season's
Mhm.
done right now? Yeah. So are
Yes,
you
our
almost
our
got your
season comes
plans
in.
set up for summer and for next year?
I'm not like I haven't committed to a school yet. A lot of schools have reached out to me, and I want to wait a bit longer because I want to see what else comes through because I'm still talking to coaches and whatnot. So, trying to get as much offers as I can, and then sit down and look at every option. Um, Summer's set up as, just gotta train, just gotta get better. That's all summer always is, you have no school. So if you're not training at least twice a day, you're really wasting your time. So I try to train 2 or 3 times a day, 6 times a week, because the summer is where I get the best, is because I have no academics to worry about. So it's just strictly ball, which is, my favorite part of the year.
You reaching out to these schools, why do you think it's so important for athletes? I'm just asking you this for like other not just elite athletes, but student athletes or whatnot to know, because obviously people need to understand that these coaches, unless you're like heaven sent,
Mm-hmm.
like you're like 30% like just Michael Jordan. They're not
Yeah,
gonna
for sure.
reach out to you. Like
That's what I mean.
they will do that at some point. I'm sure like you've probably had that with prep coaches, but
Yeah.
what is the importance of getting to coaches and getting to coaches the right way? Because I feel like it's like when you're going to a job interview, you don't go say some stupidity and think they're gonna give you a call back. They're gonna
Yeah,
block your
for
number.
sure. Exactly. Like, I would say it's as simple as like the worst they can say is, "We're not recruiting for your position." Okay, next school, same thing. It's just we're not recruiting. We have enough senior. Okay, that's okay, fine. Next school. Okay, we don't want to recruit freshmen. That's fine. Okay. Eventually, there's so many. If you look at it, there's about 365 D1s, another 400 something D2s, and I think 500 something D3s. So let alone that's almost 1,200 schools just alone in the NCAA, right? And you know, you're not telling me, if you try your hardest, I don't care if you're really good, really bad. One of those schools is going to say, "We're looking for someone like you. What are your grade?" I just think a coach is not a mind reader. They're not going to randomly like, I do believe in this. If I believe in the thing that is, if you're really good, they'll find you. But at the same time, you got to find them. Like you can't just, rely on, oh, I'm so good, they're going to get me. Like if you're not actively pursuing anybody, how do you expect to get offers? So I think like it's a win-win situation. The worst they say is no, and then you say, okay, next coach, or maybe they say, we're not looking for someone like you, but I have a friend who coaches at blah blah state in Colorado. He's looking for someone like you. Let me give you his number and his contact.
Yeah.
Just alone reaching out to one coach may say no. That puts you on to other coaches. All coaches are contacted with each other. Especially with the portal and all this stuff these days.
Oh yeah.
Coaches are always contacting.
Yeah.
I know a guy recruited me. Reached out, but I'm not looking for him. You're looking for small forwards. This guy's a small forward. The game looked really good on film. You need him.
Yeah. Especially the way you are, like you're such a I always say I don't like calling people nice because to me nice people are naive and you can
Yeah.
treat people nice however, but you're a very kind-hearted person. So when you come out like that, right? And obviously I'm gonna guess it's home training. Coaches are gonna see that right off the bat, right? And they're gonna be like,
Yeah.
whether this guy comes off the bench, he's a red shirt, or he starts, he's
Hmm.
gonna bring that energy, he's gonna bring that
That's what I
momentum.
mean.
So like the way it is now, it's extremely hard. So it's
Yes,
like
for sure.
unless you do like reclass, take that year or two to develop, go to prep school or whatever.
Hmm.
Some options are because Canada, we're North America, we're Americans too, right? So it's like
Yeah.
I think not this year, but 2 years ago. There's been like 5 to 10 guys from U Sport. They're Division One. One
Going,
guy
yeah, yeah.
from one guy from Surrey. I don't know if you know him, Adam Wilson. He's like 6'8". He's in the portal. He'll probably play high major, you know,
Mm-hmm.
in the fall. Like he's had like what over like 100 threes. Like he set a record that
A good year.
like for 1 year. That's crazy, right? And it's like I always say, like, because summer's how long? What, 4 5 months, something like that. You take 2 months, say like you go on a family vacation or whatever. People do a lot, right? 2 months, relax. Take those last two, or however you do that format. 2 months is enough time.
Oh, for
Five
sure.
days, 5 days a week, and then the whatever day you use is your Sabbath to just relax, and you
Mm-hmm.
keep going, right? Like you said, like when Tom showed us that skip and row thing, like I was telling him before this, we started with you. It's so effective. I
Mm-hmm.
don't hoop like that anymore. I'm just trying to learn to coach and stuff, but it's so
Sure.
effective. It's
Yeah.
so effective. Like guys always complain. Like I think one of the biggest things, like I've complained to Tom this year, is I'm like, why do people keep asking me why am I not playing enough? I've told you this answer. You want to play at any next level, you got to play 94 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta be able to like pick up like right away, like even when you don't feel like it. You gotta dive for everything, God knows what. And if you want your coach to trust you with shooting, people won't believe you. But it starts with defense. It's not about you being able to make developmental shots. You gotta be able to get stops, right?
Yep.
So you seem like you have it all for real. And I'm really grateful we got the time to talk to you about some of these things. And we're definitely gonna keep in contact. So
Thank you so much. I appreciate you
it
guys having me
is
on and taking the
we're
time to invite
we're
me.
gonna
Thank you.
we're gonna go back to Tom for the quick hitters. Tom, I've done the quick hitters like I think the past two podcasts, so it's back to you.
All right. Okay, Grayson. Again, I mean, just said it. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll end the show with what we call our 8 quick hitter questions.
For
So
sure.
if you're ready,
I'm
here
ready.
we go. Okay. Favorite type of dunk you do?
Favorite type of dunk? Is it in a fast break or is it in traffic?
Just your favorite type of dunk you like to do.
Favorite dunk is either off the backboard reverse or it's just a hefty 2-foot windmill, just quick.
All right. Pre-game meal.
Pre-game meal is either scrambled egg omelet and yam potatoes or it's a protein shake.
If you model your game after somebody, who is it?
A 6'6" Giannis with a jumper.
Favorite subject at school.
Favorite subject of school? History.
Favorite superhero.
Favorite superheroes? Gotta be Spider-Man. Can't go wrong with Peter Parker.
Best environment you've ever played in.
Best environment I've ever played in was probably culture-wise the BC semifinals last year.
One thing that people will be shocked to learn about you.
Probably that I'm a really good cook. A lot of people don't see that,
did
but
men-
I can cook some really good food.
You did mention that earlier. Okay, last question. Who's your GOAT? Jordan, LeBron, or someone else?
I'd say it has to be Jordan just because of that killerness. Like LeBron's got the longevity, of course, but like he doesn't have that, like Jordan's willing to die for the game. LeBron's not like that, so it's got to be Jordan.
There we
Tom,
go.
we're back.
Different
Another
questions,
Jordan.
different answers every week.
Yes, sir.
Another Jordan. Yeah, Jordan's running away with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Grayson, really appreciate it. Again, thank you
Thank you
so
guys
much
so
for
much.
being on
I
the
appreciate
show.
you guys having me on. Thank you.
Definitely be following your career as we go on, and we'll get your social media listed on here in case people want to
So-
follow you and see
Yes, sir.
some more of your dunks.
Yeah.
And again,
Yeah,
thank you so
I'm
much. And
I'm gonna give you a fall for sure.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah.
You guys have a blessed day and enjoy the rest of the week.
You too, bro.
Thank you guys. I
yeah,
appreciate
you
it.
too. You too.
Thank you.